Student Representative Council has learnt that Unisa students have still not received their results. The university committed to releasing the marks by the 27th of July. That deadline has passed and students are now angry. With us in studio we have Wadzanai Mazhetese, President of the National Student Representative Council at Unisa. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Mpho, and thanks for having me.
Unisa committed to releasing these results on the 27th of July. That still hasn't happened. What do you understand the reason to be behind that?
Look, from the onset, the commitment to release by the 27th of July was in itself a delay. And they were trying to justify that by saying that because of the 2-week gap of the shutdown that had happened, so that the university can deal with repairs and things like that in the institution, then the results are going to be late. But what they don't speak about and what is the actual reason is that a few months ago, the university registrar actually dismissed over 118 employees from the examination administration. And the reason for that was to run away from the NUMSA versus assigned case, the implementation of the Section 198A. That was a constitutional decision that all workers or employees working under temporary employment services must then be, if they've worked on a permanent function, worked for a period of more than 3 months, earning an amount which is lower than the threshold, must actually be employed as permanent employees of the institution. So in an attempt to run away from that, the registrar then dismissed and interdicted those employees. So currently we have an examination department that is hugely understaffed, and the colleagues there, they are working under inhumane conditions. There are not enough staff. They are working underground in a place where they don't even have proper ventilation. They don't even have proper sanitation, and the building itself has been condemned. So you realize that all these matters affect their working conditions and they can't deliver. I had a walkabout at the area, I think 6 days ago, and when I saw the amount of scripts that had not yet been processed, and they took me through the process of processing the scripts, I could tell that at that stage there was no way they're going to meet the deadline. Actually, even the deadline of today, they're not going to meet it. So we're in a space where we have very dishonest management, which is weak, which is conflicted, and which is deliberately undermining the academic project for other private interest, and they want now to come up with excuses. The student body is greatly neglected and disregarded. The voice, every time students have to raise an issue, they have to first shut down the institution. They have to go on the streets. That means that there is no respect of the student body.
You raise many issues here. The one that stands out for me is the understaffing. Surely that will now translate to affecting the manner in which the marking happens and the way that the marks are recorded, also bearing a huge impact on the actual student. When it comes to understaffing, have you had any communication at all from the registrar on the plan of action that needs to take place?
Look, the fellow is very complacent and arrogant. I don't think he's got the capacity to run an institution of that magnitude. By the way, you know that Unisa is the biggest institution in higher education. We deal with over 350,000 students, you know, and because the registrar believes that he's the only person who is right. This year, for the first time, Unisa lost over 100,000 students in the registration period. So we are running short of almost R1 billion in monetary value because of the errors of this person that is called the registrar of the institution. So we must accede that there is a crisis. And social media is clear. Students are frustrated. They are expressing themselves on Facebook, Twitter, and everywhere. And the reason why they do that is because they don't have access to the institution. Even if they write emails, the emails are not responded to. Even if they call, the phone calls are not answered. So they end up then lamenting through that. So when we raise to say, look, we need to deal with matters honestly, first and foremost, but also to prioritize the student, and all other secondary interests must be relegated. They prioritize other interests that we don't understand. The registrar himself yesterday was actually saying that the problem is with the markers. And the students asked them, but the scripts are in the examination administration offices, markers are finished. Why do you then want to misdirect the problem? The problem is in the administration process. Because the scripts for them to be processed, it's a lot of work. Because remember now, they must be put online so that they are able to store files online, because the hard copy files are not necessarily kept for longer. So that is the primary issue. But you find that at this stage, there is no acknowledgement of the real problems that we have. And if there's no real acknowledgement, that means there is no real solution that can be provided.
You speak of him, you call him this fella, you say the registrar. Who are you referring to?
Look, the executive management and the issues of examinations are dealt with by the registrar. And the registrar is the one that has oversight on the operations of examination administration, right? And so he is the one directly responsible for examinations. The university registrar is one Dr. Gulam. He's fairly new in the institution, but he has taken very drastic decisions, and all of those decisions consistently.
Is this a first-time occurrence, though? Is this the first time that you're experiencing a delay of results? And when were these 118 markers dismissed?
I think it's February, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the first examination with them not being around, you know. But also, we've never had a crisis of this magnitude in that particular space. The colleagues there, they are working overtime, they work weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, through and through. And it's really challenging that if there was sufficient staff, there was not going to be such a crisis.
You've said that you want your results out urgently. What other action do you want to see in this space?
You know, the expected study period is roughly 15 weeks. And already students are not going to make the 15 weeks to study. This is per policy of the institution. So what we want firstly all results to be released. Secondly, we want every other timeline to be extended in line and in response to this, because now registration is going to close on the 8th. And students can't register if they don't have their previous semester results. So we want registration to be extended. But also that means that assignment due dates must be extended. That also means that examinations must be extended. So one error in the university affects the whole value chain, you know, but that must be acknowledged. You see, the university can't come and say, no, we can't extend examinations because we don't have enough time. Because what that means is they're setting students for failure. Because if a policy says that 15 weeks is an expected study period, that means that this is a scientific figure that has been achieved through applying, you know, a particular formula, so that it is understood that all of us would have sufficiently studied. And that is what we want. Everything must be moved to accommodate sufficient study time and sufficient assignment submission time. We're not going to be rushed into an exam when we know that we have not, because the implications of failing are a lot. Some of us are funded by bursaries, NSFAS, and different things. And if you fail, that means academic progression is going to take you out. So the repercussions are a lot. Our students are mainly poor, Black, African students who don't have, this is the last line of hope in higher education, our university. And I think that people must be sensitive to that. The damage that we're doing to the hundreds of thousands of our students, it's unacceptable. There needs to be some sort of intervention. We don't believe that there is capacity in the institution at the leadership level. We also don't believe that a council has capacity to even hold management accountable. So the crisis needs some sort of external intervention. That is why maybe on the 12th we're marching to the department to say, look, we have a crisis and we don't have anywhere else to look up to.
Okay, so you say that students have also been venting out on social media because they don't really know what to do. As a body, so you're saying you're having this march on the 12th of August?
Of August, yeah.
Okay, so how are you planning it?
Yes, it's a national march to the department to raise many issues. Firstly, is to to conscientize the department that there is a crisis in our university and we need that attention from them. Secondly, also remember there's been some sort of institutionalization of discrimination of Unisa students. They're not just regarded as students enough. And for instance, if you look at the allowance regime that is applied by the department, for instance, to our students, it excludes them from food allowance, transport allowance, accommodation allowance. Yet, all of us were regarded as poor students. So the same siblings, one studying at VETS or TUT, for instance, and one studying at Unisa, the other one studies hungry, the other one studies with the stomach that is full. So that kind of discrimination to us was saying, I think it must end now, must be recognized. But that takes management will. We have invited them that if you are committed to the students, join the students and go and raise this voice as a collective instead of speaking in isolation. When they're invited even by the department to come and engage, they deliberately exclude the students.
Thank you so much for your time. All the best to you. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but thank you for your time. The 12th of August, Unisa students saying that they will be taking a nationwide march, really just venting out their frustrations. That was the National Student Representative Council's Wadzanai Mazhetese.